I can see him dying. I don't wanna do this anymore. I don't wanna be the reason why. Every time I walk out the door, I see him die a little more inside. I don't wanna hurt him anymore. I don't wanna take away his life. I don't wanna be.
Alright guys, welcome to another episode of Brand Academy. As always, I am your special guest, Brand. I am Mr. Wynn's twin brother. Okay, and he told me that he left off teaching you guys about factoring trinomials, especially learning about that splitting numbers right here, right? The two numbers we find in the middle. Okay, so right now, make sure your notes are out. Okay, so we can begin. And let me get rid of my beautiful face. All right. Okay, so we left off, or not we, but you guys in class, right? We left off talking about the splitting numbers at the end here. Okay, and how the splitting numbers, they have to multiply with the first and that last number, right? Right here when we talked about it, the first and the last number. So is that A times that C. And those splitting numbers also have to add up to your middle number, which is B, right? Which is right here. Okay, so those are your two conditions. Okay, so we're going to do one example of that right now. So turn over to that last page in your notes. Okay, so just above right here, just so we have a little reference, I'm going to write ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay, so make sure you write whatever I am writing down. So right now we can see that our a is 3, all right, our b is -5, and our c is -12. Okay. So again, with this concept of splitting numbers, okay, so please write this over here. And so again, we said our splitting numbers have to multiply to A and C, and it has to add up to B. Okay. So right now, I'm going to show you guys a little method to help us find those splitting numbers easily. And this is what we call the X method. Okay, so when I just draw an X, I'll explain what this would be used for. Draw a better X. Okay, so we have an X. So at the top right here, I'm just going to put A times C. And we know A times C would be 3 times -12, right? So 3 times -12 would be 3 times -12 would be -36, right? I'm trying to leave you guys some more room. Okay, so 3 times -12 is -36. And at the bottom here, I'm just going to put add to B. Okay, and of course, our B for this case would be our -5. Okay. So now the two blank areas right here, these will be our splitting numbers. Okay. So now this is where you're going to ask yourself, what two numbers would multiply to -36 and add to -5? Okay, so kind of just brainstorm that. And so some of you guys could guess that it would be 4 and -9. Okay. Of course, -9 and 4 works too if you switch the position. So 4 times -9 would be -36. And 4 plus -9 would be -5. Okay. So that's how we find our splitting numbers. And so now what we're going to do, the reason why they're called splitting numbers is because we're going to split this -5 into those two numbers, into the 4 and -9. So now I'm going to have -4x and negative 9x. Okay, and of course that 3x squared we're just going to bring down, as well as that negative 12. Okay, so we just bring those straight down. And so here it should look very familiar. This is when we have 4 terms and we can do our factor by grouping. So taking a common factor out of the first 2 terms, it would be x. So we're left with 3x plus 4. And for the second set of terms here, negative 3 is the common factor. And of course, right, very familiar, by design, we see that these two are the same binomials. Right, so we can just write that below here. And then the numbers on the outside, we can write that as one binomial as well, the x minus 3. And that is our final answer. Okay? So again, this whole idea of splitting numbers, right? Splitting numbers is splitting that middle term into those 2 numbers, negative 4 and negative 9, right? And again, we use this method called the X box to figure that out, okay? And real quick, let's say I wanted to check my answer. If I wanted to check my answer, what would I do to see if it's the right trinomial, right? So if I FOIL it out, I should get what I had in the beginning. So if I have x minus 3 times the quantity 3x plus 4, I would FOIL this out. So we have x squared, 3x squared plus 4x. And then down here, negative 3 times 3x would be negative 9x. And negative 3 times 4 would be negative 12. And then simplifying, I would get the exact same expression as above. Okay, so that's how we would check. Okay, so really in terms of your steps on how to factor, so we can just copy this down real quick. So give me 1 second. All right, so just you guys can just copy these notes right here. It's really just the steps on how to factor a trinomial, right? Trinomial means there are 3 terms. Okay, so these are the steps we use to solve for the example above. Okay. All right. So you guys can pause the video here to just copy this down and complete it, and that is your only homework. Remember that tomorrow is Baron Games, so freshmen wear blue and seniors wear blue, and then sophomores and juniors wear gold. Okay. I will see you guys, Mr. Wynn will see you guys tomorrow, and have a good day.